live from Malaysia once again, from the beautiful, beautiful island of Langkawi. I haven't gone on live since since about 2 nights ago. It was nighttime here, morning time in the West. You know, let's see if we get a couple people to hop on. Yeah, daytime in the States. Yup, check out the beauty. And this is the exercise room right here. Not very huge, but you know, sun is rising. 7:53 a.m. I don't know what to call this. This ain't really a beach. It's like a lake or a peninsula or something. But yeah, I'm gonna keep, even though I got Diddy, which is like a current event in the in the title. I'm not gonna stop bigging up Malaysia. And how beautiful it is. Oh, sorry, my bad. I don't want to mess up. She's doing yoga. Meditation. But yeah, right here, man. Malaysia is definitely one of the more beautiful places in the world. For those of you who like to travel, who like to see different terrains, different environments, I'd say throw Malaysia in there. You know, throw Malaysia in there and check it out. Try it. If you like Thailand, you'll like Malaysia. But yeah, so I'm gonna just talk about a little bit of current events. This is not really my thing, but it's a big story in the States right now. And I come to find out as I'm traveling, a lot of people, uh, a lot of people internationally know what's going on in America. The good and the bad. You get a lot of people who they say, "Oh, I'd like to visit America someday," and I'm like, "Man, look at what you got here, though." And they're well aware of people out here in places like Singapore, Malaysia. They're well aware of the political climate in the USA. You know, they know a lot of the history. You'd be surprised because in America we don't really know a whole lot of history about other places because it's really not our concern. We don't, unless you're in the international news or you like to study international politics or something like that. We're not paying attention to other people's elections, their current events. We're not paying attention to their, you know, um, to their entertainers and things like that. But the world is definitely paying attention to ours. And if you ever watch the British news or these British bloggers and stuff like that, if you listen to these YouTubers, these bloggers, which I do, you know, I do at least maybe once a day just to keep up on what's going on, big stories. And you hear a lot of these people are from the UK, and a lot of these people, they're really in our business. You know what I mean? It's like, man, you guys are talking so much about what's going on in the States, and we don't talk about you guys at all. And we would call that, in the hood, we would call that meat riding. Like, why are you on my meat? Why are you yo, get up, yo, like mind your business. But it's just big. That just goes to show the impact that America has throughout the world, at least the inner, you know. And now we're talking about, we're talking about P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, and the whole situation that he has going on in the states, which, I'm not shy to admit when I see an injustice going on. So it probably will come off like I'm being biased, and maybe so because I 9 times out of 10 I'm cheering for the underdog. And what I see the U.S. federal government is doing to people like Sean Combs and they're attempting to do to people like Jay-Z, I think is flat out wrong. And I think it's all based in jealousy, envy. You know, um, if you go back in history and you look at the history of America, you look at the history of the slaves and the blacks in America. America never really wanted black people to have equality. It just is what it is. This is not bringing up the race card. This is not, trying to play a victim or something like this. This is just calling it what it is. And if you're into the law or you're into history, I'd encourage you to look up the Dred Scott case. Dred Scott, DRED no, excuse me, SCOTT. Dred Scott. If you look up the Dred Scott case, then you'll understand when you see the ruling and what the judge said in that case. It was a man who was a freed slave, and he stepped into a territory where slavery was still active, and he actually went to court and sued. He tried to sue for his freedom, and the judge in that case, which was a federal judge, one of the top judges in the country, a judge in that case ruled that basically black men and women are not human beings. We're not full human beings. No right to that, to freedom, like every other citizen that was born in the U.S. We are property. And America has never really gotten past that mentality inwardly. On the outside, they say, yes, you guys are free now. You can have the same rights that any other American can have. You can have the same opportunities that every other American can have. But it's not really true. Yes, you can have some money. You can make some money if you follow a certain codes and certain rules that will keep you know allow you to live peacefully for a little while. But if you deviate from that path, if you deviate from that code, you will be stripped, you will be tarred and feathered. Maybe not as out in the open as it used to be, like when slavery was still legal. But in this day and age, all somebody has to do is make an accusation about you, and people will run with it. Especially if they don't like you, people will run with it and they will say it's true. You must be guilty, right? Without doing any kind of research, without looking at you as innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, people will just automatically say that you're guilty, and then everything that you've built or you've worked for will come crumbling down. Now, that's not to say that any of these guys haven't done some things in their past that brings that attention to them. But when you look at certain laws and charges that have been brought up in this particular Diddy case, you realize that these people they can create a law out of thin air. So now they're talking about something called human. I don't want to say the word because I don't want my video to be taken down because that happened to me the other day. But you guys can pick up on what I'm saying. It's called schmuman schmacking, right? Which means, and every man, I would think that every man has done this before, and maybe even some women, definitely some women, but particularly men, because we're usually the ones that have to pay for dates. Men have to pay for vacations. If you are a man and you pay for a woman or man, with this day and age, even though I don't condone that thing, but men pay for men too. If you pay for a male or a female to come visit you across a state line, if you live on a border state and you pay, or close to a border and you pay for somebody to come and visit you across a state line, or even to another country, and you have sexual relations with that person, the if you and that person end up on bad terms later on down the road, they can bring get file charges against you or file a lawsuit against you called human schmacking or schmex schmacking. If you guys follow me, right? Now, how many people have done that? Think about think about the times where you're like, man, I want to go, I want to see this woman tonight, or I want to see this guy tonight, and we're gonna go out on a date. But we're gonna go from Jersey to New York, or from New York to Jersey, or we're gonna go from Connecticut to Boston for the weekend. And by law, that is illegal if they want to get you. But everybody has done that. What's up, Dow Jones? Salute to you in the house. Thank you. And thanks to whoever gave me that thumbs up. But yeah, there isn't a man of adult age who hasn't paid for a woman to go across a state line for dinner or for a date. And you say, hey, babe, let's go out to an island just for the weekend. Let's take a vacation. Now they're calling that human schmacking. Now, think about this for a second. Who is the biggest human schmacker on the face of the earth, or in history? Think about how many people, think about how many Africans were chained up and forced and stripped from their family and kidnapped and brought to America to work for free, to work as slaves in the field. Isn't that human trafficking? But they don't. It's one of those things where they say it's okay for us to do it, but it's not okay for you to do it. America was built on human schmacking. You know, it was built. There was no way all of these Africans got to America. All of these black people. Granted, there's people who would say there was a lot of black people already in America, there could be some truth to that, and then a lot of those Africans did mix with the natives. So there's people who have DNA that's been in America for thousands of years, been on that land for thousands of years. But I'm just saying that those feds, those federal agents, the FBI, the CIA, the Homeland Security, and all of that, the country that we have, those agencies that we have, were built on human schmacking, schmacking, you know, and a lot of them engage in those same behaviors. But if you become a target of theirs, if you become too successful, in particularly in America, if you're a minority, if you are black, and I don't know if I can say brown or Latino because I really haven't seen anybody on the level of a P. Diddy or that has ever had to go through this process that they're putting him through, maybe on a smaller level. But as much as the big as a deal that they're making about this, clearly I'm gonna have to say that there's a lot of jealousy and envy involved behind this. You know, you can make some millions, but you cannot try to awaken the masses. You cannot talk about like black excellence. You cannot be breaking music records, coveted records, like having the most number one albums in history or something like that. You cannot do any of that without facing some kind of backlash and jealousy and things like that. Now, so those charges that I see that are being brought up against him, the kidnapping and human trafficking and the RICO, I think those charges they created out of thin air. They looked for whatever they could. They put pressure on anybody who was close to him and convinced them that, hey, if you don't give us the information that we want, you're going down. You're gonna be facing 10, 20, 30 years to life uh, for being around this guy. And of course, most people, whether they have the true evidence or not, most people are going to fold in a situation like that when they're facing 15, 20, 30 years. They don't want to be ripped apart from their family because they worked for someone who was paying for people to hop on his private jet. They were partying, getting high, which is, if you believe in, you know, uh, if you subscribe to, having good morals, you don't want to be involved in drugs. Some people will call it haram, right? Now, the drinking and the drugs is haram. So, of course, people can speak down on it. But should it be a situation where people are facing uh, life in prison, facing 15, 20 years in prison? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially when you have people who, like, for example, Hunter Biden, for example, who got caught with cocaine and a gun in the White House in a federal building, and nothing happened to him. P. Diddy didn't get caught with anything. And right now, basically, they're shipping him away, trying to give him life in prison. And there's people who have killed people, murdered in cold blood, double murders, who have been given a $5 million bail. Now, as I said, this is where the race part comes in, because these people who commit these heinous crimes and they're granted a bail, they what is the one thing that almost pretty much all of them have in common? They're all Caucasian. Now, some people can call it racism, and a part of it is that, but it's also people are supporting their home players, their home team. Now, if the system was created and designed for a certain kind of people, then of course those people are going to look out for each other. You know, uh, you notice that we would say white people, they will look out for each other. Not even just white people. Everybody in general looks out for uh, their uh, their own kind, except for, let's say, uh, black people. Black people are the only ones who rejoice and have a lot of glee when they see someone who looks like them in some trouble or taking a fall. We're the only ones who kind of encourage that and celebrate it. Uh, Throw this on real quick. We are the only ones who celebrate and rejoice uh, when we see another uh, person that looks like us going through tough times and having trouble with the law. Nobody else does that, right? So anyway, what I'm saying is, now we have a situation where Jay-Z, one of the most successful uh, entrepreneurs in American history, no matter what color you want to call him, he's one of the most successful. Has more number one albums than Michael Jackson. He has more number one albums than the Beatles. Come on now, the Beatles go back since the '60s. one of the biggest groups of all time. And Jay-Z has more number one albums than them. And this is a guy who started off as a crack dealer, as a drug dealer, grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in America, one of the roughest housing projects in New York City. And to be able to make it out of there through music and entrepreneurship, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. This is not something that people just do every day, you know, coming out of those conditions with no college, and most people cannot fathom how are you able to do that. Most people follow a formula. They get good grades in school. They go to college. They get good grades in college. They make connections, and then they get a job. And nowadays, getting $100,000 job is the minimum for people who are coming out of college, and that's what everybody's going for, right? Now imagine these people work so hard for years and years and years. I don't even know if I'll call it working hard, but they work to achieve certain goals, years and years and years in academics, you know, and they become doctors, they become lawyers, they become prosecutors, they become judges, they become policemen, they become federal agents. And then they see someone who didn't even finish high school, didn't finish college, and this person surpasses them and is making the type of money that they will never make. Imagine how these people must feel about that. Imagine how these people must feel about that. And this is a person who's coming from the descendants of slavery. This is somebody who's coming from the bottom, and he's able to become a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. That is something that is unacceptable. And these new breed of Negroes are very braggadocious, very confident. They walk with their heads up. They wear colorful and bright clothing. These guys are making music. These guys are having people show up to dance floors and clubs, and they're dancing. Hip hop is all around the world. I'm not gonna say, and I appreciate if y'all double tap, man, the screen and give me a thumbs up. But hip hop is something that was born out of the ghettos of Jamaica and America, and it has gone worldwide. Almost every country that I've been to, every city in the world that I've been to, no matter where you are, especially in Asia, if you're at a hotel like this, you're at a resort, or you're at a restaurant, you're in the train station, you're in wherever you may be, you're gonna hear some rap music. You're gonna hear hip hop. You're gonna hear Biggie. You're gonna hear Tupac. You're gonna hear Jay-Z. You're gonna hear Snoop. You're gonna hear Dr. Dre, Eminem. You're gonna hear Drake, Kendrick Lamar. You're gonna hear Beyonce. You're gonna hear all of these guys. You're gonna hear Lil Wayne and Nicki Minaj and all of them. So, uh, with that being said, they don't like it. Basically, America does not like that. And every chance they get, they're gonna try to tear you down and punish you. So, I come to that conclusion that a lot of these charges and a lot of this YouTube banter that you see people having, um, just tearing down these successful black guys, these successful black men, they revel in that. I don't see nowhere near as much coverage of Mike Jeffries, the CEO from, what's up, Ricky Ricks? I don't see as much coverage on Mike Jeffries, this Abercrombie and Finch CEO, who has been accused and sued federally and charged for raping young men. Seriously raping young men. And he was doing the same thing that they accused P. Diddy of, and his bail was Granted, at $10 million, you can't tell me that there isn't some kind of bias or racism involved in the decision to deny bail to P. Diddy. And yes, I found out what I know because I spent quite a bit of time around federal courthouses and judges and lawyers. I find out that they know the proper words to say when they want to grant somebody uh, or what you would call a motion or a decision, or when they want to deny you. All they have to say is, this defendant has shown themselves to be a danger to the community. A danger to the community can be anything. They can say, oh, you made a phone call 1 minute past 8 p.m., so that shows that you're breaking the rules. That's the same thing as when you're driving on the road and the speed limit says 60, but you're doing 65. Everybody has done that. Everybody has broken the law in some kind of fashion, whether it's inadvertently. Yes, you have different degrees. I'm not saying going over the speed limit is the same thing as maybe what they would call witness tampering. But witness tampering can be anything. You could be wanting to call somebody just to say, hey, I just want to call you and I'm calling from jail. I just want to call and say happy birthday to you. Or, look, I've seen your name in my discovery. I'm trying to figure out, man, what's going on? What are they asking you about me? Like, what the defense, like, why are you giving them statements against me after I've been taking care of you all these years? You never told me that I did anything wrong to you. And now all of a sudden they say that you're testifying against me. You can't even call somebody and say that, or they're gonna say it's witness tampering, you know? So it's cool you want to ignore me, but I speak the truth, supported your channel since you were staying in. What's up, Coco? What you mean ignore you? What you mean I can't ignore you, Coco? It's the first comment that I'm seeing in here. How you doing? What's up, Pen? Nah, Coco, you part of the team. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that gotta be for me because it says Thailand. But yeah, elaborate on that. But yeah, so what I'm saying is I see a whole lot of bias going on with that case, and I you guys that have been watching my channel know I don't really comment too much on social events, like on social on current events that much. I just like to talk about my travels and move in and move around and stuff like that. But this is a situation I wanted to talk on just because, of course, it's in the algorithm, but because I see an injustice that I want to speak up on. Now, anybody that's trafficking young kids, of course, of course, that person deserves to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law if you're harming children. But we haven't seen this here. And when you over the age, once you hit the age 18 in the United States, you are responsible for your own actions. You're an adult at that point. You know, I won't say that you can just walk into a store and buy alcohol or buy cigarettes or something like that, but you are an adult. Anything you do now, if you make a mistake or you do something, you go into the adult jail. You're not going to juvenile hall. You're not just gonna get the little slap on the wrist. You're gonna be mixed in there with the real, you know. So with that being said, you can't blame other people for what you do. You know, most of us when we were young and our parents would, you know, ask, so we said, well, we were with this person, or this person told me to do this, and your parents would tell you, no, you make your own decisions. You do what you want to do. You don't follow behind anybody. And I think that everybody has had that conversation at some point with their family or with their parents about you are responsible for your own actions. Don't blame So I do have a problem with, and now let me start off by saying this, that there are people who get manipulated, and particularly when older, smarter adults, can manipulate younger adults because younger adults, don't have much life experience. But by the time you 18, you really do know the difference between right and wrong. You do know the difference between right and wrong. And you can't put the blame on somebody else. So now, here's the thing. And yeah, Coco, I don't know what's going on if you put something in the chat and it didn't show up on my end, but try to write something else again because I don't see what you wrote before. But anyway, uh, many of us who were living the fast life as young adults, and when I say the fast life, I'm talking about we were doing sneaky things that we shouldn't have been doing. You know, I know plenty of people, and I include myself in this, who we had a drink before we reached 21. We had a drink probably even with a family member when we were young. And if you smoke whether cigarettes or some weed, many of us smoked before 21 years old. We used to sneak out. If you found a joint, maybe your uncle or your cousin or somebody, YouTube is censoring. Maybe I can see your comment now. I see your last two comments, but I don't see. Hold on, let me scroll up. Yeah, I don't see anything else you left. But yeah, many of us, we experimented with things before we were of age to do so. In the United States, you're an adult at 18, but you can't drink or smoke until you're 21 legally. But you can join the military. They can give you a rifle. They'll give you a gun and tell you to go kill somebody at 18, but you can't smoke and you can't drink. Now, some people will say that's a little bit hypocritical. It is, but it is what it is. And like I said, a lot of us, some of us started off, we were fast, you know. Some of us took our first smoke even before you were a teen. If you had somebody in your family who smoked, who used to leave cigarette or cigar butts, around, you might have took some and went somewhere in the corner and lit it up just to see what would happen, you know. Well, one of your friends came and said, "Hey, man, I got some weed." You didn't know what you were doing. You just knew that you saw some of the adults do it, so you took a puff. So my point is that many of us have broken the law, broken some rules at some point in our life. And how dare we get on our high horse and condemn people who've also committed these crimes, these same crimes, and call them criminals. Now, I know there's different degrees of criminal. You can't compare X assault to drug possession or something like that, or it's two apples and oranges. That I understand. But what I don't like is for people to make grown-up decisions on their own and then years later come back and blame somebody else for it because maybe you have regrets that a relationship didn't work out. And you people know what I'm talking about. What's up, struggler? Blessings to you too, and I appreciate those of you in the chat. So what I'm saying, a lot of us that started off moving fast when you were young and you had your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you didn't know that it was a possibility that you were going to break up. You thought, okay, this is the person I'm with. I like this person. I'm going to stay with this person. And you engage in adult behavior. You have a schmexual relationship with this person, right? And then maybe it doesn't work. And fellas, women tend to mature a lot faster than we do. A 13-year-old girl is more mature than a 13-year-old boy. A 16-year-old girl is more mature than a 16-year-old boy. And that's why often throughout history, you always see younger women with older guys. Women just mature faster than men. That's just the way it is. Biologically, mentally, men, we don't really reach man status until really, to be honest, I don't think men really become men for real these days until you like in your mid 20s to to early 30s when you really feel like you figured it out. The majority of men, whereas women, they step into womanhood a whole lot sooner, you know, and women require, and this is just human nature, they want men to be protectors and providers. And that is the natural role of a man, is just like a woman is supposed to be like a nurturer, you know, um, someone who takes care of the family. When the man is not around, she takes care of the home, she cooks, she cleans, she just takes care of things. She's a helpmate. That is the natural role, right? But somewhere along the line, over I want to say maybe the last 50 and 60 years, last 50, 60 years, people start to mature a lot slower. People start to mature a lot slower. And you have people who are not getting married in their teens anymore. I don't know. Hold on, the beach looks beautiful. You should take a boat ride. Yeah, Coco, I will. Definitely. I think if not today, then tomorrow. I'm gonna go on a motorbike ride in a little bit. I'm gonna eat some breakfast and then I'm going up into the mountains. But definitely this place, and to be honest, this is not even really a beach. I don't know what you would call this thing because you can't even go down there. It's a bunch of rocks. This is more like there is a beach area, but it's just not right here. This sand was put here. But yeah, so as I was saying though, this is not like, you ask your grandparents what age did they meet, how old did they get married, and you'll find out that a lot of times, and especially in my case, uh, my grandparents were in their teens. I think got my grandmother got married at 18 and had my father at 19 or something like that, or she got married at 17 and had uh, my father at a year later or something like that. But that was a common thing back then because women didn't have the same responsibilities that they have today. For example, most women weren't going to college back then. High school was it. That was the ceiling. If a woman uh, graduated high school back in those days, there was really not much more to look forward to. You had to be, I guess, borderline wealthy to send your kid to college back then, or for a woman to go to college. But and just like when you look at the military, if you go way back, I know I'm talking history, this could be boring to some people, but it's all going to tie into where I'm getting at. Women were not really joining the military like that. That wasn't a big thing. It was the men would go off to fight wars and the women would stay at home and wait. And most of the time the guy never came. A lot of times the guy didn't come back because he died or something like that, or so the role of women was a lot limited. But now, because women are going out getting more education, they're getting married later, they're having children later. So this generation right now, it's unfathomable to them to hear about an 18-year-old girl getting married, a 17-year-old girl getting married, a 16-year-old girl with a 23, 24-year-old man. That is like repulsive and uh, incredibly wrong in this day and age. But back then, I'm talking 50, 60 years ago, it was normal. And maybe not even that long ago, if you look at Elvis Presley, look into the history of Elvis Presley. Anybody who knows about Elvis Presley, he married, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, somebody can Google and correct me, but I think he married Priscilla Presley when she was like 14 or 15 years old. And Elvis had to be on his way to 30 at that time. But, you know, At that time, people didn't really say anything. And parents, to be honest, a lot of parents, they would be happy that their daughter was with a successful entertainer, a wealthy entertainer, somebody who could take care of them. Because the way that the fathers looked at it back then is, damn, that's one less mouth that I have to feed. Guys weren't, I don't think people were really wearing condoms like that back in the in the 70s, 60s, 50s. I don't know how good the technology was. I have to look that up. But there wasn't a whole lot of the same kind of birth control back then that you got today. And so people, it was common for people to have 6, 7, 8, 9 children, 10 children. You know, nowadays it's not. Check out the view. This is the spot right here. So nowadays, you know, some people are like, oh, I got one kid, I'm done. This is enough for me. Or I got 2 kids. This is enough for me, because you know, the cost of taking care of a family has increased so much. Back in the day, one person could have a job. You can have one income and take care of a whole family. The father could have one job where he was making $50 a week, and that $50 a week could feed a family of 4 and pay rent or pay the house fee and pay whatever you need. But not these days. You know, these days you gotta have a real nice income. If you're starting from scratch, if you didn't have a large inheritance or something like that, and you starting from scratch, you didn't have a family business, or you know, your family didn't have a big time life insurance policy, and you starting from scratch, it's hard to have a large family and really take care of them properly, you know. But back in those days you could. So as I said, a father would be happy if his daughter got with somebody who could take care of her. And that's how you had a lot of those young women that were getting married to older men. It's not uncommon at all. Prime example. Well, one example. I'm not going to say this is a prime example, but anybody who out there, Anthony E, anybody, and thanks for the thumbs up, everyone, enjoying this view. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful view with me today out here in Malaysia. So anybody who has an opportunity, Google or search, Yahoo search, whatever, Donald Trump and Melania Trump. I don't know if they're gonna flag my video for mentioning the incoming president, but Google their age difference. See if somebody has an opportunity to put it in the chat. Let me know what the age difference is between the incoming president of the United States and his wife. And I believe that the age difference, if I'm not mistaken, is like 24, 25 years or something like that. Now just imagine Trump, the incoming president, he was 24, 25 years old when his wife was born. Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second. I hear a lot of people making a big thing about Jay-Z being 12 years older than Beyonce, and that's some kind of indication that he's committed some crimes against adolescents. You know, but if you want to talk about age differences, look at the president's, the incoming president's age, and then look at his wife. And you know, you can get into how they met. So I'm just saying, there is for all the great things about America, there's a lot of double standards there. It's okay when certain people do it, but if you come from, particularly if you come from a minority background, if you're black, you can't do it, or we're gonna find this repulsive. This should be illegal. This is wrong. You know, we're gonna blast you all over the news and all over the internet about it. But it's okay for the president, the incoming president, to have 34 felony convictions. And now, mind you, I'm not hating on the game. I'm not hating the player. I'm just speaking on it because I don't hear nobody else talking about it. let's be fair about these things. If you're gonna go after these guys, go after everybody. Every day you hear about these teachers or lunch lady taking advantage of these young boys. You know, these women are 30 years old and up, sleeping with 14, 15, 16-year-old young men. Now, mind you, I get it. For men, it's different because when we were young, that stuff was cool to us. You know, you hear about a teacher giving some to a young man. You like, oh man, like that was some. You were lucky. You're the man. You get high fives about stuff like that. Women, not so much. It's a double standard. And those women who get caught making out and sleeping, and you know, I guess if you going by the legal terms, molesting young men, you know, they get a slap on the wrist. They get probation. But the man, no. And if you don't, if you think what I'm saying is not true, uh-oh. The main thing, I just wanted to wanted to touch on those hypocrisies of the United States government, the law, the federal agents, the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, the Homeland Security. I just wanted to talk on those hypocrisies, how they allow certain people to do certain things, but if you're black, it's a crime now. You can't bring a woman across state lines and sleep with her. And for those men who like men, you can't bring another man across state lines and sleep with him, or that'll be a federal crime. If you and that person break up, and that person decides that they want something from you or they're angry with you, they can bring you up on charges. So what I was getting at too is okay, we talked about the age difference. Um and now this thing, I'm gonna get deeper into it later on another live. You know, not gonna talk about all of it right now, but the point that I was getting at is that a lot of us have regrets about people who we've gotten ourselves involved with when it comes to relationships and things like that. And particularly women, I get it. Women can have more regrets than guys, you know, because for guys, usually when you sleep with a woman, it's kind of, a woman gives you her body, it's kind of viewed as a lot of times as a gift. You know what I mean? Because the man is the giver and the woman is the receiver. This is not being misogynistic. This is not women hate talk. This is just real talk. You know, my the people in my chat know I don't really get too graphic or you know, in detail about things like this, but we're gonna keep it real on this channel now and going forward. Women are receivers and the men are givers, right? Now, when the men, not all men, but let's talk about the modern men. When when a modern for women, their whole life from the time that they reach puberty, they're 13, 14 years old, they realize that they have the power to give they have the power to give themselves to whoever they want. You know, they can kind of pick and choose who they want to give access to them. Men, it's a little bit different. Men, we're a lot of times we're open to almost all forms of affection from the opposite sex. You know what I mean? Men, we like to know that we're desired, we're attractive. But women, I think it's kind of annoys them sometimes when there's always a lot of guys trying to talk to them at some point, right? So I think the majority, not all, but the majority of men and women see sex differently. Men are always the ones who choose the woman they want to be with. Coco, I hear that saying sometimes. I think this is partly true, but I think women are the real gatekeepers. Men, yes, men decide who they want to. Okay, here's how it goes. Women decide who they want to sleep with, but men decide who they want to marry. I think that kind of sums it up a little bit more. A man would decide, no, I'll marry this one. I don't know if I'll marry this one. I might sleep with this one. I might hang out with this one. This is my friend, but this is the one where I'd rather marry. And most of the time, men, and the biggest mistake a man can make is to marry a woman based off of looks. That's the biggest mistake a man could ever make. So most men tend to marry a woman who they think is gonna give him some peace or that's gonna help him in some area. And yeah, if it's a wealthy man already, a lot of times he is gonna marry a woman for her looks because he feels like he don't need her for anything else. He's already got money. But if it's an average man, a man is gonna marry the woman that brings the best out of him because he need him a teammate. But when the man and a woman meet, a woman decides whether or not she want to give that man her real phone number. She decides if she wants to give that man her email or her social media. And then even if when she does all that, she's the one to decide if they're gonna actually meet or if she's gonna stand him up, if they're gonna go out on a date. The woman decides if she's gonna answer the phone when the guy calls, or is she gonna hit the send button, or if she gonna say, oh, I'm busy, I can't do this, I gotta do that. You know, so I think women are the gatekeepers in the beginning, but yes, if she allows that man to get inside of her mind, her heart, and her body, then I think the tides change a little bit. Unless she's a woman that she's very cold and she can just sleep around with anybody and not have any feelings attached. There's a lot of women out there that are like that, but I don't think that's the majority of women. I think it's a lot of them, but it's not the majority. I think women, when they give themselves to a guy, they wanna move up on that guy's list. You know, they wanna be the one that gets any kind of benefits that he might give, right? So yeah, so I'm 50-50 on that. I think that women control, and in most cases, the woman is the one that controls the show. The man is bigger and stronger physically, but the woman, you know, her emotions, her mentality, her mindset, they usually have the advantage over men. Said women control access to what we want. There you go, struggler. Yeah, but a woman can't pursue a guy like calling them or texting them to date them. The guy decides if he wants to pursue that woman. Here we go. Here we go. The woman. No, I'm going to disagree with that. We can agree to disagree on that one. I think that the women, no, you know what it is? All right, this is what it is. Men are expected to be able to accept rejection with no kind of problems, to just take rejection and just be like, oh, move on. Oh, got rejected and move on. Women, it stings. I think being rejected stings women a little bit more because they're used to the man doing all the pursuing. And these days things have changed. You're not going to get as much men. Men are not men like they were back in the day. These guys nowadays, men have to become a lot softer and I don't know if use the word sissified, but men can't be men anymore because we'll be called chauvinistic, narcissistic, what's those other words? You guys know what I'm getting at. So men can't be men anymore like back in the day. A man could be bold and say what he wanted to say. Now it's viewed as like harassment and things like that. So men are walking on eggshells constantly. And now the roles have reversed. The women are the ones who decide, hey, take my number. Hey, you call me. You know, uh, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, man, I would like to keep in contact with this woman. I'd like to get her number, but I don't want to ask because I don't want to seem like I guess a word could be thirsty, or you don't know if the person is open to it anyway. So I don't say anything. But then in certain cases, it'll work out because they'll be like, here, take my number, write my number down, or what's your number? And I'm like, damn, I didn't have to ask. So I think that I'm gonna say women got the power. And here's another thing. If a woman, and y'all gotta let me know, a woman always have more options than men. Yeah, struggler. Um, yeah. So I'll say, Coco, at any given point in time, right now, if you went outside, you went to any in your own neighborhood, or you went to a big city, and you wanted to talk to 10 guys before the end of the day, and you wanted to get 10 different numbers, or you wanted to give 10 guys your numbers, like on some flirting. I'm just using this example. If you wanted to flirt with 10 guys and get their number, and assuming these guys are single or whatever, um, you could do that easy. For a man, it's much tougher. For a man to do that is much tougher because a man, you don't know, you're walking into a forest and you don't know there's snakes, there's lizards, there's malaria, there's all kinds of things that you got to be careful about before you even go to that stage with a woman, because a woman can just turn around and say, oh my God, he was flirting with me. I felt so uncomfortable. Or this guy asked for my number. They make it'll be a big thing. And then if a man calls a woman, and maybe she misses the call, it could be honestly, and he calls back again one time, maybe not that day, but it could be a few days later. He's just trying to follow up. That is also nowadays seen as a form of harassment. What's up with my reception here? Yeah, my bad on that. I think my signal is going. But not every woman has the same luck like attracting the guys they want. If a woman can't attract different types of men, then they stay single. Okay, but that goes to show you that women have a lot more options. Because yeah, it's okay. That's a good point. I agree with you on that, because yes, a woman can go out and talk to many, many men. She could get many numbers. She can go on many dates. But if it's not the guy that she wants, then she feels like it's a wasted effort. It's like it doesn't matter because she's not with the one she wants. That can happen with guys too. But what tends to happen with guys though, a lot of times, a guy, guys most time have to take what they can get. Not all, but a lot of times you take what you can get. You know what I mean? We're happy to just have somebody who has our back and somebody that will treat us well. Whereas women can, a woman, like I said, right now, you can go out and get 10 different numbers. You could talk to 10 different guys if you wanted to. You know what I mean? And yes, it may not be the one that you want, but the thing is, a lot of times women want the same guy. Like, he has to fit a certain mold, and everybody is gunning for that. You know, like this is an example. Maybe this is an extreme example. Let's say a Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, or one of these big time when they were in their prime, when they were much younger. I'm saying, and you would see them at award shows. You would see them on TV, and the women used to fawn over them. They would scream and all this, right? Yeah, every woman, and nowadays I would say it's Chris Brown. Like if you're talking about like in the urban environment, the younger generation, When I say younger, I should probably be careful about that because Chris Brown is in his 30s. But uh, Chris Brown was that guy for a while, you know, uh, in the hip hop world and in the urban world. Just women. All of the women want these guys. They're going for the same one. So if the women don't get these guys, they don't get the guy that's earning 150, 120, $200,000 a year, then they feel like what they have is not good enough. Whereas men, we don't look at it like that. A man, we rarely ever cared about how much money a woman makes. A man doesn't care about what kind of job a woman has. Think about um, the guys that was out and about. You know what I mean? This talk may not resonate with the pure guys who were good their whole life, man. I'm talking to the people who, you know, we made some mistakes. We used to live on the wild side for a little bit, you know. I'm not talking to the people who were in church every Sunday and waited till they got married to sleep around. I'm not talking to those guys. I wish I was like that, but I'll be honest, that wasn't the path that God had for me. But or it just wasn't the path that I followed. Let me say it that way. I see you. So now, so what I was saying is that, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. What I was saying is that a lot of women tend to go after the same prototype. Men don't really care as much about professional accolades from a woman. Men don't care about the education level. Men don't tend to care about none of that. You know, somebody could be working at McDonald's, could be working at Burger King, and the man won't care. It's not the same for women, you know. Yeah, so it's a lot different between the two. So I'm just saying we're not the same. You said men are more visual, women look for love and security and loyalty. That is true. Competition. Oh, I missed a couple of comments. You said light work. If a woman isn't attractive, yes, but a woman can be attractive and have acne and not see value that someone else sees. Grows thinking she's not attractive because of something that will go away. But in older age, it's fine, it's wine, but wasted life and experience and doesn't get married because she led that life. Yeah, competition is not as fierce these days with obesity. That's true. Men are more visual. And how about all the women that chase the dealers, didn't acquire life skills, and now they up upstate out of working high school jobs and embarrassed when you bump into them over 50 years old. Men need to take classes in love and security and loyalty. Pen, that's a good point. My wife, I'm separated from, has loyalty to her ex for 31 years as marriage, and I'm separated at third year because of adult needy children that aren't mine, and communication became a problem over that. Yeah, that is true. Communication rules the nation, and that is like the most important. That is the most important thing. And yeah, you're gonna have that issue too when uh, there's always other people that are in the way because you're not the priority. You are not the priority. If you're not the priority, it's gonna be a problem. And sometimes, of course, you want your space. You don't want everybody always uh, up under you. But yeah, you got to be careful. You definitely got to be careful who you get involved with because that determines everything. That determines everything. And they say the most important decision, like we talked about this the other night, the most important decision any man gonna make is his spouse. You know, that's the most important decision. Entitled, said, I was loyal. She raised her kids wrong and feel obligated to take care of their adult children with their own family. Yeah, that is not cool. So I will say in, in in my situation, sometimes it's you know, it all depends on the person. So in my situation, when I hit 18, my mother told me it's time to leave. I have to get out and leave. And some people, you know, their parents will stay with them. They will stay with their parents until they're adults, and the parents feel that they have to take care of them. Yeah, yeah. So, so, so yeah. It's case by case. It's case by case. You know, at least, and even if the parents decide to help, the mother decides to help, it should be from a distance. If the person lives outside of the household and not getting in the way. You say you accomplished so much without her. See, when nobody's in your way, adults acting like kids. Yeah. And now she in the trailer fixing it because the ex bought crap for the daughter, knowing she would fix it with the house money. See, see. But anyway, my point is there's always gonna be double standards for the women than it is for the men. You know, and we're just wired differently. We're just wired differently. Finances are a big thing. Living humbly. Yep. But the way have been on workers' comp since March and bailed on me. She held a little down, but lost faith because her kids were chosen over her husband. Oh, man, I think that's one of those things where people look at it like blood is thicker than water. You know, it's blood is thicker than water. But I get you too, because at a certain age, you know, once they're able to get out and work, then they gotta go. It's like tough love. That's what they say. So yeah, so I'm about to. Uh, it's not getting paid only in disability. Sometimes at 18, it's still not ready to leave home. Parents shouldn't kick out the children from home. Yeah, no, I get that. When I say kick out, I don't mean uh, in I don't mean in a malicious way, but I mean pushing, encouraging. Okay, saying, hey, you know, you just left high school now. You have something. There's something that you have to do. Either you go to school or you get a trade. You know, I don't like to encourage people to join the military, but sometimes if that person don't have any other option, they can go to the military. You know, at 18. Now and again too with women, again it's different with women because you know, if I got an 18-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter, I'm gonna be a little bit rougher on the son than I am on the daughter. The daughter can stay as long as she likes or as long as she needs to, until she's either ready to get out and go on her own, or until she gets married and somebody takes her. But with a the boy, an 18-year-old boy, I'm gonna say, look, man, you know, you're a man now. You know, now you have to learn what this real world is about. You have to learn how to pay bills. You have to learn how to pay your own this and do your own that. You know, we're here to help, but you got to go and figure out what you're gonna do with your life now. You've had time. High school is over. You know, you're an adult now, and that's a tough thing to tell somebody, but it is what it is. And I got that. I got that. That was told to me. And as I look back on it, I appreciate it. Yeah, I would have loved to stay home and work and save some money and things like that. But I got that talk from my mother. She was like, look, you 18 now. I'm not responsible for you. What are you going to do? And I didn't go all the way overseas, but I went far from home, you know. And whenever I was in something, I needed help, you know. I had, you know, I was provided with an ATM card. Like, okay, there's some money in there. You can go and get what you need. You know, just know that you have a budget. You can't go over that budget. At 18 years old, I think that's a good lesson. Nice view. Oh, yeah. Love is thicker. Go to school to start working, start learning to be an adult. Yeah. You know? Because, look, and this is the point that I was bringing up earlier. I don't know, think Coco, you still here? This is the point that I was bringing up earlier, too, is that um, back in the day, men, there was a lot of people. All right, I'm gonna use my grandfather as an example, and I'm not saying this is the best example, but he was a man, an old school man who took care of his business. You know what I mean? He raised a family, four. You know what I mean? And the thing was this: my grandfather, I don't think he went past the sixth grade, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he went past the sixth grade, maybe the fourth grade or something like that. And but he learned early how to fix cars, you know, and he was working for Ford Motor Company for a long time, and years and years he was underpaid, and it got found out. I think some woman that was working in the bookkeeping or something like that, she said something to him accidentally one day about his salary. And then that's when he found out that he wasn't making what he was supposed to be making for that job. And when it was discovered, I don't even think he had to go to court or anything like that, but Ford ended up paying him all of the years, the back pay that he never got, that they were supposed to pay him. They paid him all of his back pay, and he took that money and he opened up his own business, his own shop. And to me, when I hear that story, man, I'm like, oh man, that was huge. That's incredible to me, knowing that my grandfather didn't even, I don't think he graduated middle school, and then he went on to become his own business owner and things like this. And he was the first minority in that city. No, I don't want to say in that city, but on a particular main road there that had his own business. So when I got old enough and I found out about this, it made me more proud of him. But the point that I'm getting at is this: most men back in those days became men at an earlier age. You know, they might have been taking care of a family. It wasn't uncommon to see a 18, 19-year-old young man already have 2 kids, 3 kids, and a wife at 18, 19 years old. And then by the time he's 20, he's buying his own house. Maybe even had his house before that, but most of the time, I'm talking about, of course, I'm talking about the minorities who didn't have anything, and they're starting from scratch. Back then, one person could do everything. You could buy a house for $10,000 back then. A nice house, $10,000. Your mortgage, maybe you were paying $100 a week, that type of thing. Nowadays, it's the rarity. You see some young entrepreneurs out there making big money off of social media and YouTube, man. I salute them youngins in TikTok and all that. I salute these guys, because these young kids are making money hand over fist. They're showing there's a new way of making money nowadays on the internet and all that. But they're still not men like they were back then. You know, these kids are making hundreds of thousands of dollars every few months, and they're still living at home with their parents. A lot of them don't know how to change a flat tire. They don't know how to change a flat tire. They don't know how to check the oil in their car. And I get it. They say, oh, why should I do that? I got AAA. I can pay. Nah, a man got to be a man. They don't know how to fix anything. They don't know how to fix anything. If the door is broke off the hinges, can they put the door back on? Can they repair it? You know, so it's a whole different era nowadays. And I would say the same thing. Also, with women are maturing a lot slower these days too, because, like I said, back then, a woman would be. It was normal to see a 16, 17-year-old woman, or they considered that a woman to already have children back then. Now it's much later. Women are going to school. Women are getting careers. So that slows down everything. So it's just a different era that we're living in right now. You said you had to work since you're 16, but moved out at 21 to get away from toxic abuse. Exactly. You have to. When you know. And then 21 too, you probably felt at 21 it was time to go. Nobody nobody had to tell you. So some are less fortunate didn't get the support. Hopefully things are better today. Yeah, that is true. But sometimes that's that thing where necessity necessity creates ingenuity, where you have to be creative because you have no choice. Help ain't coming. Help is not coming. Nobody's coming to save you. So have to save yourself. So that's what this world that's what people need to learn at a younger age. Support is good, but don't think that it is gonna always happen, because it doesn't. Yeah. But hey, said paratroopers called off. I agree. Young men to learn how to change tires and other handy skills. Yeah, that should be mandatory. You know what? Now that we're talking about this, somebody can write this down. I'm gonna give this one away. I know Penn like to tell me don't give away too much. I remember I was talking about the pool table hustlers, but I would say they should put that in the class. It should be mandatory in classes that all young boys have to learn how to change a flat tire. Now, it's not always easy, because sometimes you might have a car, especially if it's a used car or a rental car, you might have a car that doesn't have a jack in that car, that doesn't have all of the tools. But they should at least know the basics. If you stuck on the side of the road at 9 o'clock at night and you're in the middle of nowhere, or you're in the middle of the desert somewhere making a cross-country trip or something, and you get a flat tire, you gotta at least be able to know how to save yourself to get to the next 20 miles down the road so you can get some help. So that needs to be mandatory. Just like I said many years ago, and I should have made copyrighted or something like this, that, there's certain things that are not being taught that should be taught, you know? Yeah. They need to implement that in the classes. Hey, every man need to learn how to take a we used to call it shop or something like that. You did wood shop and things like that, but it should be mandatory to learn how to change a tire. You can't graduate unless you pass this one class. Maybe one day, God willing, if I'm able to make my own school, if I can create a school one day, I'm gonna put that in there. Yep. But yeah, so hey, I appreciate y'all so much for jumping in here with me. And I want to talk more, but I did say I gotta go and get breakfast and get at this buffet before it shut down. And cause we only got a couple more minutes left, and I'll jump back on here and we'll have this conversation again later on. So appreciate you, Coco, Penn, struggling. Who else was up in here? Anthony, I appreciate that, struggler, and all of everybody that gave me the thumbs up. We're gonna jump back on here and finish up this get. We're gonna get to the second part of the convo where it was talking about the Diddy situation uh, and the double standards in the law. You know. All right now.